Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we currently need to put up our power module for our colony, but for the moment I wanted to pop in here real quick because we actually have enough to grab either hypersonic flight or experimental aerodynamics, and we'll grab hypersonic flight just to unlock aerospace tech, which we're probably not going to need at this moment. But for right now, we'll grab that, and now we have all of them available to be grabbed, if we don't necessarily have the science for it. Now, it's been a little while in terms of actual, real-world time since we've checked in on our colony's science missions. But it's not been a lot of time in game time. So we're not really needing to do that at this point. There's no contracts here that are looking good. So for the time being, we're just going to hop directly in, modify our power module, and we'll get that ready to go. So let's just open this up and open up our power module here. There we go. Kind of a fat fairing, but that's fine. Okay, so we're going to zoom in here a little bit. There's this fuel tank, which is mostly being used as spacing, and I think it's fine. We can empty this fuel tank like so. We can definitely ditch the thuds. Those are unnecessary here. There we go. We can clip on in here and zoom out slightly. Grab this octagonal strut, get rid of that. That's no longer necessary. We do have a remote guidance unit on here. We've got our docking ports. That's looking good. We should not, in fact, need this stage at all. We know that for a fact. So that's looking good. One thing I would like to toss on here is a little bit of RCS, which we omitted last time, and I regretted it. It was possible to handle without it, but it certainly could have been easier. There's no doubt about that. So we'll grab a little bit of RCS here. That's about right. Cool. And we'll put some RCS thrusters on here as well for purposes of being able to use those. So this way we're going to save ourselves some fuel as well. So that'll be fine. Now we're going to have to rebuild our fairing because the fairing was not quite tall enough here. So we'll just bring it in something like that. It's a little bit heavier, but honestly with this tank empty, this should still be even lighter. Do we need the dual reaction wheels? I don't think so. I think we only need the one reaction wheel on here, like that. Is this strutted together? It is not. That's interesting. So let's go ahead and take that down to 4. And we'll strut that like so, although that went to 2. So let's bring that up to 4, go in like that. There we go. Okay, cool. So that's now strutted together. Perfect. Okay, what else will we need on this? Well, we're clipping out here, but it should be fine. Realistically, I think that's all we need. We've got our battery banks. We've got a bit of spare fuel capacity here. I think it's all good. So we'll go ahead and lift this thing off, but I'm not going to save it like this. Let's rename that to the V low gravity, no atmosphere version. There we go. We'll save that, and I think we're ready to launch it. This should be protected by the fairing, so that'll be fine. Cool. It'll stick out slightly, but I'm sure it'll be okay. The fairing will definitely shield it. It'll be fine. I hope. Hopefully the fairing doesn't break it as we detach the fairing, but I'm pretty sure those are physics-less in this state, so it should be fine. Okay, we'll get this ready to go. It's sticking out over here with the wheels as well, but again, same thing. It should be fine. So we'll just go ahead and lift this on off. I want to double check our staging quick. Let's see here. Yeah, that all looks absolutely fine. So, up we go. Beautiful. We are going to get some horizontal speed going here at about 60 meters per second. There we go. Let's bring this guy on over. And we'll just lock prograde around here. There we go. Beautiful. I'm noticing us at 91 degree heading. For the moment, that's okay-ish. We'll have to do an inclination change any way we slice it, so it should be fine. We've got another 57 seconds left to burn in our side tanks here. All is looking good. And this will, of course, be the last modular launch for our Gilly colony. We're maybe going to need to send up... Maybe. Now that I think about it, I'm not sure that we will need to send up anything else. We'll probably be able to cobble together what we need. Most likely. Assuming that we can move the parts around. But in orbit, I think we can. It should be fine. So we're definitely going pretty high up here. For the moment, that's reasonably fine. Just punching up through that atmosphere. Apoaps's height is already in space. And we'll be targeting like 105 again. There, that'll do. Cool. So we'll park here for now. And once we get up here, we're going to have to do a pretty big maneuver in order to get into proper orbit. But that's okay. We didn't have all that much horizontal speed, but should be fine. Something along the lines of that. We can now ditch our fairing, and off it goes. Beautiful. Little wiggly up here, it looks like, but it should be okay. Cool. I'd like to start heading over towards the maneuver node. And we can't extend any of this just yet, but we have more than enough power. We're not concerned about that. Power is not a problem here. I will extend a single Gigantor. There we go. And we're just kind of wiggling our way on over here. Okay. There we go. Apparently we're not going to warp here. I'm going to manually warp this. Fantastic. So 40 seconds, 20, 10, and let's prepare for this burn. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Cool. So that's all looking good. We'll get a good circularization burn here. And realistically, we're very likely to transfer the fuel up here. In fact, we could do that now, in theory. We should have plenty of fuel to do this. So we'll let that go as we continue our burn here. Kind of a two birds, one stone sort of scenario. I like it. So we're going to pull 25% of the fuel out of each of these tanks. And that'll be fine. We'll have more than enough to make this happen, I think. Cool. So that transfer is completed. And we're going to have this burn done in about 10 seconds. Entering orbit shortly. There we go. Entering orbital mode. We're now officially in orbit, and we've overshot a little bit, but it's fine. It's completely fine. So as usual, we will, of course, come out over here. I really should untrack some of these. Yikes. I want to set the actual colony core, not the colony core debris. It's a multi-satellite machine. Here we go. We'll set that as our target. Fantastic. The ascending node over here is going to be our next opportunity to change our inclination. We're off by ½ degree, so that is fine. We will come on over this way and do something kind of like this. It's a very, very minor burn. 0.8 seconds. So let's limit this down to like 7.5%. Yeah, that's a 10-second burn. That's more like it. We'll get in position for that, and how wiggly will this be if we physics warp it? The answer is reasonably, but not too bad. Cool. So we'll get in position there, and we will begin our warp. Excellent. So we've got a good amount of fuel left here. In fact, we've got more than enough. We can dock up with this, in theory, and then transfer this fuel into the rest of the station. So that would be fine, and then ditch this. We don't need an additional mainsail at the station. So 40 seconds here. Cool. 30 seconds. 20. 10. And 3, 2, 1, mark. Cool. So there we go. We will probably thrust limit this engine here in a moment. That should be good enough. So let's unthrust limit the engine, and let's see what an interception around here would look like. It'll probably be all wrong. Oh yeah, that's pretty wrong. Let's add in a couple of orbits. That's looking pretty good there. 30 kilometers apart. We can probably tune that in a little bit. 7 kilometers apart. Ooh. I saw 0.3. 0.3 kilometers apart. I like it. That's really nice. So we definitely don't need to have this at this thrust. We'll limit that down to like 20% thrust, I think. Yeah, that'll be fine. We'll align for this burn, which is going to be in about an hour. There's definitely a little bit of bending around this joint, but that's to be expected right now. Cool. And let's go ahead and warp. Excellent. So we'll get a couple of orbits done. Of course, our timing was not perfect, but that's completely and totally okay. We're not concerned about that. So 55 seconds until our burn here. 30, 20, 10, and 0. Cool. Off we go. So this will be our interception. That should be good enough. How's that intercept looking? 0.3 kilometers. I like it. That is right on where we want it to be. So sometime around here, of course, let me focus on Kerbal so it's a little bit easier. Right around here, we want to start a, well, we'll just warp to around here. And we want to go into target mode. There we go. Cool. So we've still got a decent amount of fuel in here. That's all looking good. This is looking really, really nice right here, actually. We should probably flip over onto the retrograde side. We are going to drift off a little bit, but that's okay. Cool. So we want to push the retrograde node, and we can see we're about 3 kilometers out right now. So let's go ahead and go into stability assist here. And let's begin a very, very minute corrective burn here, pushing the retrograde node back onto the target marker. Cool. There we go. And now we'll hop over to target retrograde. Excellent. I'm not sure if we're going to assemble future colonies in orbit like this because there's a distinct frame rate drop when this loads in. So I'm guessing we're probably not going to do that so much. But let's go ahead and kill some of our relative velocity here. Correcting the burn ever so slightly. Cool. There we go. And we'll head back to retrograde. Now, how's that looking? 0.0 kilometers, huh? Well, we'll just go ahead and warp ahead about a minute. Stop that. Stop it. We'll kill our relative speed here. There we go. Okay, so now we are here. We want to set this docking port to be our target. There we go. And we will control from here. Perfect. Let's go ahead and point towards target. And then we'll get the station moved around. Excellent. I call it a station. At this point, it's not so much a station as it is a colony. Well, right now it's a station, to be clear. So we'll just get that pointed in here. Perfect. And we do see we've picked up a little bit of a drift, but it should be fine. So we're going to hold position here. And now we're going to hop over this way. We will control from here. Set this as our target. Perfect. SAS on, and point at target. Beautiful. We don't have to come in from any particular direction because we can very easily turn this station. No problems here. We are likely to want to refuel these tanks with what we've got in here. But I believe we do have some additional fuel tanks that we can move that into. Yeah, we're not going to be short on fuel. We'll probably want to ditch this mainsail for something a little bit higher specific impulse as well. Let's set up our rotation here to match. Something about like this. Looks good. And now we're just going to head on in here very minutely at about 0.5 meters per second. SAS off, RCS on, and we're just adjusting our trajectory with RCS. There we go. And then back into SAS to adjust our attitude. It looked for a moment there like the station has picked up an oscillation. Yes, it has. So I'm going to freeze the physics for the moment. Cool. There we go. Just adjusting our trajectory slightly again. Excellent. There's a definite oscillation there. Okay. We'll have to try to match that oscillation as best we can. I don't love it, but it does exist. Just making some very minor modifications to our trajectory there. We're about 22 meters out, and I'm keeping an eye on our orientation here. Our orientation is still looking reasonably good most of the time. It's probably good enough. Yeah, it should be. Cool. One last adjustment to our velocity here. Cool. And that should bring us straight on in. We're then going to refuel using the remaining fuel in these tanks, and then we'll ditch this. We do not need this stuff at this point. That's very unnecessary. So that'll do just fine. One last check on our orientation, and it looked good. Fantastic. Okay, so let's go ahead and pin these guys open. And we'll pin these guys open. Or this one, anyway. And we'll move that fuel on out of there. Excellent. And we'll do the same with this one. There we go. Now, there's a lot of mass out here, and we're going to want to undock this quite soon. Do it now. Okay. So out that goes. Fantastic. I'm going to turn the SAS off, and I'm going to unpin these and freeze these physics. Cool. There we go. Now, of course, we need to get this strutted in. So, Kim, you can go ahead and EVA and come on down. Hopefully, we'll untrack these, and that will, I'm hoping, help the frame rate issue a little bit. But we do have a lot of parts here. So we'll grab on over this way. I'm hoping we'll be able to reach over here. It should be fine, I think. Yeah, we should be able to. So we will attach this part here, and then we'll attach that straight on in here when this is relatively straight. Like that. I think. Are we straight? Hopefully. At any rate, we will connect in here. It doesn't really have to be pretty, but we'll just connect that like so. And then over here, we'll connect in like so. And then we'll double check our straightness. It should be reasonably solid there. Okay. So something kind of like that. It does look reasonably straight. So that should be fine. Yeah, looks good enough. So we'll now have Kim hop back in. Beautiful. And up we go. This is not quite the place we wanted to be, but there we go. Perfect. Okay, so with that done, we appear to have a bit of a visual bug here, but that's fine. Maybe reloading the ship would do the trick. So we can extend those, and we'll have enough power. No doubt about that. So we need to start thinking about how we're going to transit this thing. So step one is definitely going to be replacing this engine, as well as ditching these fins. We're not going to need these fins. They are dead weight at this point. So we ditch the fins, we replace the engine with one of these two poodles. We don't need both poodles, but we do have a good amount of fuel on the tank right now. Oh. That's not all that straight, is it? Yeah, there's a decided bend to that. We could try to fix that. Or, alternatively, we could just wait until we're on the surface and redock it. If we feel like we need to. I don't think it actually hurts anything to have it be not straight like that. It should be okay. We can compensate for it with our telescoping hydraulic cylinders if we need to. So I think that's fine. Let's have KimCam go ahead and hop out again, but I'm actually going to quick save here, and let's hop back to the Space Center and clean up some of our debris, and hope that that helps that frame rate situation a bit, and maybe even just reloading it'll help. So that'll be good. So let's get that debris out of there. We definitely don't need the mainsails, we don't need the big orange tanks, it'll be fine. We can probably condense down to a single big orange tank if we can move that. I don't know that we can, but we'll hop into the tracking station. And we are going to ditch this debris. It's all very unnecessary. So we'll get rid of that for performance purposes, and we'll fly the colony core again. Fingers crossed that it's not, you know, totally crippling to the computer. It should be fine. It should be fine. It's not that complicated. Well, we're still loading in here. It's better. I'm not going to call it great, but it's better. Okay. So we've also got some crookedness over here we can see. Actually, I think that this is the straight one. And this is the crooked one. So that's fine. Whatever. It doesn't actually matter. So what we need to do right now is we need to get KimCam EVAing. And we're going to head down over this direction. There's no handholds down here, so we're going to have to do this the hard way. But we don't actually care about keeping around these fins at this point, right? So we can just park about here. And that was not the button I wanted. That was the Toolbar Controller. We can just park here, and we can deposit these fins out in space. Cool. We don't need them. Now, can we grab the mainsail? That appears to be a negative. I think the mainsail is just too big to move. Okay, so in that case, we can always just push with one of these side poodles. That's fine. That doesn't actually matter, but can we move a poodle? If we can't move a poodle, then we're going to need to bring up a higher specific impulse engine and ditch this. So let's see. Because we need a landing engine, right? So that's going to be a thing. We can move the poodle. So that's noted. Did that get attached on where it was supposed to? No, it did not. Okay, it just has a bit of drift to it. That's exciting. Okay, well, in that case, let's think for a moment here about how we want to tackle the landing. Let's bring KimCam back in. We've learned what we needed to. And I want to think for a moment about how we want to do this. So, if we can grab on here and board. There we go. We'll stop this tumble. Cool. So, we can now get rid of these parts. They are no longer necessary. So we can hop back to the Space Center, and we could get rid of that lower portion and just mount the poodle down below. That's a definite option. And then we could ditch the other poodle, because I'm willing to bet we can't stow that away. So, that's definitely something we can do. The poodle should be more than sufficient to land us on Gilly. There's no problem with that. But I want to get rid of those fins. These kill fins do not need to exist anymore. So we're going to get rid of those, terminating those flights. Perfect. And it is now time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we're going to reconfigure the colony into being, well, set up for interplanetary flight, and that'll be great. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including Casserole, ALS Gamer, Kentuin, James, Shadowwolf, MLohan80, Kentogan, Spartan News, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Unisil, Kadra, Rogue Corvid, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time. That did cut off the music, didn't it? I exited the tracking control station, and now we're back at the regular KSC. Fantastic.